So the strangest thing this past weekend of 40K, Vigilus. Fritz spotted playing Black Templars, not throwing his hand in, his fate with the gods and the despoiler on here. Well, sometimes we have to do what we have to do, but the interesting thing is in the past two big games that we've had, it's been a unique twist because I've been able to play against Chaos Space Marines, and I've been able to taste a little bit of what Chaos is throwing out, where usually I'm on the opposite side, playing my Berserkers of Scalathrax. And we had the Oblitz on the table, and we'll get into talking about utilizing them and some of the things that I've seen. I'm a little more skeptical, simply because with the increase, and I'm not really seeing as much, especially since we're in the late stage of 8th edition 40K. But what got me thinking was on our side, there's this idea, and I've covered this in the previous podcast up on the archive. I know I'm a little bit fragmented here. I'm seeing the battle still playing out in my mind. Generally, what we want to do with our army is, as new units are introduced, as new additions are added to 40K, you want to be revisiting your tactics. You want to be revisiting the models in your collection and making sure that you haven't missed anything. So in this game, it was a big game. Most of our forces, it wasn't planned out, most of our forces were highly mech'd up, Razorbacks, very, very fast moving in, contingent of Assault Marines moving in, and Terminators on there. And Chaos suffered a little bit because we moved across that table very, very fast. We were able to kind of ignore some of the objectives in our deployment zone and essentially kind of lock down and really be very, very aggressive against the Chaos forces that we were facing on there. And this got me reevaluating in my Berserkers of Scalathrax list, and again, tying into Oblitz, seeing more of them, the new models on the table, or potentially soon. They look amazing on there. What is, for myself, and I'll share that, my assessment, and then your assessment, what are the units in your list to lock down your opponent in their deployment zone? This is from the Chaos perspective on there, but equally this applies to every single army in 40K. This applies to what you're running, what I'm running. We kind of fill in the blanks on this template. So with momentum, with movement, with shooting, in most missions you're going to start in your deployment zone. You're going to start in a restricted place on the gaming table. And from there, you're going to move out and you're going to radiate into the center of the table, into the left, and to the right. And then as you take losses, you're going to lose models. As you go into the assault, as your opponent kind of pushes up, it's going to get a little more sluggish and you're going to slow down a little bit. This is why turn one momentum, the ability to move out and roll out, going all Autobot on there, turn one is so vitally important. You need to be aggressive in a good way on turn one, pushing forward. On the opposite side, what you should have is some element of units that literally appears in your opponent's deployment zone. And the two aspects of that is you're trying to take, based on the points, let's just say it's 100 points. If I'm dropping 100, I want to tie up for a turn or two, never really three, 4, 5, 600 points. If I can take a third of my army and tie up half or more of your army in your deployment zone, that's going to give me momentum not only to mission objectives, but to be able to dominate key points on the table. This is called deployment lockdown. I take a fistful of models, they appear in your deployment zone, they start shooting at stuff, you start shooting back. Yes, they're going to get wiped out. Yes, I'm going to lose them. That's why the points, I don't want to go all in. I need to have some restraint on there. But what it buys me in momentum is key. So the first thing, of course, the way you win 40K is by removing other models off the table. So I want to look at the units that I have available and how much can they shoot. Now, I see a lot of theoretical dice combos, and I see a lot of ways, depending on what you're running in the Chaos decks, to really put out a tremendous amount of dice. But in the math hammer as it exists, yeah, I could put out 80 dice a turn, but my unit isn't going to last a turn. Your opponent can't allow it to last that turn. So really, it's not so much, the killie is important, but it's not so much killie that's secondary. I need survivability. I need a way to try and take your entire army shooting, or at least a half of your army shooting into a unit and have it survive. So you're forced to deal with it turn 2. Now, terrain is going to make a big impact. Obviously, I'm just not going to drop down in the center of your army. If I can drop over to the right side of the table or the left side of the table, not everything will be in range. If I can hide behind a building and isolate and shoot, or I should say line of sight blocking terrain, and isolate and shoot a unit or 2 of yours, so then you have to kind of move around. All those parameters are in play. What are you utilizing? So in my Berserkers of Scalathrax list, I have been using, and I continue to use, Terminators. I think they have, with the marks and being able to take power weapons and strike on that and all that, they fit for multi-roles, meaning I can walk them on the table. I can use them defensively when I need to dig in on mission objectives. I can put them in a Land Raider, and I play a Land Raider. I can send them in deployment lockdown. There's a versatility in there. So because of that versatility, I take them in the list and I utilize them in a variety of ways, but I would not say they are a dedicated unit for that. More and more, and it's kind of surprising because I feel like in 8th, the Helldrake has been completely forgotten. And I might be making the mistake of thinking my meta is your meta, and that's the meta. No one really plays the Helldrake, the Hell Turkey, anymore. I mean, I still do because I love dragons, and space dragons and demonically possessed robotic space dragons are just too good to pass up on there. But I've been using those for deployment lockdown, and I find that they work very, very well for it. I'm going to see if we could do some blitz and see what happens there, but I think that it's going to do much, much better with the Helldrake. So I find myself just, I don't know if it's true or by chance, I'm kind of putting that out there, more and more I find it effective deployment lockdown. So the question on your end, what units are you using? Because regardless, remember, again, we all start on a confined space on the table, even if it's a long deployment zone, and regardless of what kind of army you're running, a fast army, a hybrid army, a gunline type army, regardless of what you are playing, having the ability to lock down your opponent and keep them busy with something for a turn or two is key and is pretty massive.